Let me start with something that looks like strength, but is almost never only that. Some people smile through everything. Through the difficult conversation that should have made them cry. Through the loss that should have left them visibly broken. Through the moment when someone said something that landed like a wound and the person on the receiving end simply smiled and said something light and moved the conversation forward as if nothing had happened. Through the ordinary Tuesday when everything felt heavy and wrong and the world around them required nothing but fine, so fine is what they gave it. The smile is always there, warm, present, convincing. The kind of smile that makes other people feel comfortable. The kind that says everything is okay, I am okay, we are okay. There is nothing here that requires your concern or your attention or your care. And most people take it at face value, because it is so consistent, because it never wavers, because the person behind it has practiced it for long enough that it no longer looks like anything other than who they are. From the outside, people who smile through everything are often described as positive, as resilient, as the kind of person who handles things gracefully, who never seems rattled, who brings lightness into every room they enter. They're the ones others lean on in difficult times, precisely because they always seem steady, because the smile communicates availability. I am fine, therefore I have room for your not fine. Therefore you can bring your difficulty to me and I will receive it without adding to it. And there is something genuinely generous in that, something real and warm and caring about a person who consistently makes space for other people's pain while appearing not to carry any of their own. But appearing is the operative word, because beneath the smile, in almost every case, something else entirely is happening. Something that the smile was specifically designed to cover, not to deceive, not to manipulate, but to protect, to manage, to keep at a distance the response from other people that the person behind the smile has learned, through experience, to expect when the smile drops. Most people who smile through everything did not decide to smile. The smile arrived as a solution to a problem that appeared early and needed addressing quickly. The problem was this: their genuine emotional response, the sadness, the fear, the anger, the overwhelm, the ordinary human distress of a person who was hurting, produced a reaction in the environment around them that felt worse than the original pain. The crying made someone uncomfortable. The anger made someone withdraw. The fear made someone impatient. The honest expression of how things actually were created more difficulty than it resolved. And the child, who needed the environment to be manageable above all else, learned the fastest available route to making it so. Smile, lighten it, deflect with humor, say something that releases the tension. Be the one who makes it okay rather than the one who makes it hard. And it worked. The smile worked immediately and reliably and every single time. The uncomfortable person became comfortable. The withdrawing person returned. The impatient person softened. And the nervous system, which had been carefully tracking what made the environment safe and what made it difficult, filed the lesson with precision. The smile keeps things manageable. Use it. Use it always. One of the central psychological mechanisms behind smiling through everything is something called emotional masking, the learned practice of presenting a positive or neutral emotional display while experiencing something significantly different internally. Emotional masking is not lying in the conventional sense. The person is not trying to deceive. They are managing. They are doing what they have always done, what they learned to do before they had the language to describe or examine it, taking the genuine internal experience and covering it with something more acceptable before it reaches the surface. The smile is not false, exactly. It is a choice, and increasingly an automatic one, to present the version of themselves that the world has consistently responded to most safely. What makes this pattern particularly persistent is that it tends to be reinforced from every direction. People respond warmly to the smile. They describe the person as strong, as positive, as someone whose company feels good. They return to them, they seek them out, and every positive response to the smile is, neurologically and socially, another vote for continuing it, another piece of evidence that the smile works, another reason not to put it down. There is also something that people who smile through everything often carry that is almost never named directly. They are tired, not in the way that rest resolves. Tired in the particular way of someone who has been performing a version of themselves that is slightly different from the actual version for so long that the performance has become indistinguishable from the person, and yet still costs something to maintain. Every room they enter requires the smile. Every interaction requires the lightness. Every moment when something difficult arises requires the rapid internal management of whatever is genuinely happening before it reaches the face. This is not occasional, it is constant. It runs in the background of every social interaction, every relationship, every ordinary conversation that brushes against something real. And the cumulative cost of that continuous management is an exhaustion that the person often cannot fully explain even to themselves, because from the outside, everything looks fine, and they have been looking at themselves from the outside for so long that they sometimes forget to check what is actually happening inside. There is also a very specific kind of loneliness that belongs to people who smile through everything, and it deserves to be named carefully. It is not the loneliness of being alone. It is the loneliness of being surrounded by people who know the smile and do not know the person behind it, of being deeply connected to others at the level of warmth and presence and care, and completely unknown at the level of actual interior experience, of giving a very real version of themselves, the generous, attentive, steady, warm version, and receiving in return a connection that is real but incomplete, that touches the surface and not the depth, that reaches the smile and not what it covers. This loneliness is particularly difficult because it is invisible. The person has friends, they have relationships, they have people who care about them. From the outside, there is no obvious isolation, but inside, the isolation is profound. The specific kind that comes from years of being present in relationships while keeping the most important parts of yourself carefully out of reach. People who smile through everything also tend to have a complicated relationship with the idea of being a burden. The smile, at its foundation, is often an act of protection, directed not only inward but outward. It is the person protecting the people around them from something they have decided, usually long before adulthood, those people cannot or should not have to handle. The genuine emotional response is withheld not just out of self-protection, but out of a kind of learned consideration, a belief that other people's comfort is something worth preserving, even at the cost of their own honesty. This belief has its roots in environments where the person's emotional truth created difficulty for others, where their sadness was a burden, where their fear was an inconvenience, where their need for support arrived at the wrong time or the wrong place or in the wrong form, and was received in a way that taught them clearly and permanently, not with words, but with the undeniable language of how people behaved in response, that the right thing to do was manage it themselves and present something easier. There is also something important to understand about what the smile costs in intimate relationships specifically. The person who smiles through everything is often an extraordinary partner and friend, attentive, caring, emotionally available, the kind of presence that makes other people feel genuinely held and understood. But they are very difficult to truly know, because the same skill that makes them so generous with others, the ability to manage the internal while presenting something calm and warm on the surface, also makes it almost impossible for the people closest to them to reach what is actually there. Their partner tries to check in and receives "fine." Their closest friend asks how they are doing and receives "okay," actually really good. And over time, the people who love them most begin to feel a quiet, unnamed frustration, not at the person, but at the glass wall that exists between the warmth they are given and the reality they are not allowed to see. The love is real, the access is limited, and the relationship lives, permanently, a little short of what it could be. What makes this pattern so difficult to shift is that the smile has become identity. For many people who smile through everything, the positive presentation is not something they do, it is something they are, or at least something they believe themselves to be. To drop the smile is not just to express a feeling, it is to become someone different from the person they have always been in every relationship they have ever had. It raises a question they may not be ready to answer. If I am not the one who is always fine, who am I? If I am not the steady one, the strong one, the one who handles things, what is left? These are not small questions. They are the questions of someone whose identity has been organized around a particular presentation for so long that the presentation and the person have become genuinely difficult to separate. And that is not weakness. That is the entirely understandable result of a pattern that was built early and reinforced continuously and never seriously questioned because it kept working, kept producing good responses, kept making the environment manageable, right up until the moment it started costing more than it was worth. The path forward for people who smile through everything is not about stopping smiling. The smile is not the problem. Warmth is not the problem. The capacity to hold other people's pain and remain steady is not the problem. It is one of their most remarkable qualities. The path forward is about something more precise than the elimination of the smile. It is about creating, gradually and carefully, and in conditions that feel safe enough, some space inside the relationships that matter most for something other than the smile to exist. Not drama, not the sudden dramatic unveiling of everything that has been hidden, just one honest moment. One small true thing said to one person who has been trusted enough to say it to. One instance of the genuine response arriving before the managed one does. Arriving and being allowed to stay rather than being smoothed over before it reaches the surface. That moment is not guaranteed to go perfectly. The first time someone accustomed to always being fine admits that they are not, the people around them often do not know how to respond. Not because they do not care, but because the signal has always been fine, and the new signal requires a recalibration that takes time. But that imperfect moment, that ordinary, uncertain, slightly uncomfortable first instance of genuine expression is where something important begins. Because people who smile through everything are not fine. They are not always okay. They are not naturally positive in a way that exempts them from the ordinary human experience of pain and fear and grief and overwhelm. They are people who learned, before they had words for it, that the world responded better to the smile than to what was behind it, and they have been honoring that lesson faithfully and exhaustingly ever since. And somewhere beneath the smile, beneath all the "I'm fine" and the lightness and the warmth and the generous steadiness, there is someone who is tired of being the one who is always okay, who wants just occasionally to be the one who is held rather than the one who holds, who wants to say something true and have it received without the person on the other side looking uncomfortable or uncertain or quietly relieved when the smile returns. That person has been there all along, behind every smile, in every room, waiting not for permission to stop smiling, but for proof that what is behind the smile is also worth something, that it is also allowed to be seen.